My little evil trick is if it's something that I really don't want to do, and I just see this is not going to work, I'll ask you when is your event. You'll tell me September. I'll be like, yeah, I think we still have a few spaces open for September 2027. Let me just think. and then that's my way of saying no. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to. I've come too far. I haven't come this far just to come this far. I'm not going to do something ugly that I don't like.
702.
The upside of failure.
Proof that a setback can lead to a step forward.
The upside of failure, as we do on a Friday. And today we are joined by absolutely phenomenal South African fashion designer who also happens to cook really, really well. Gert-Johan Coetzee is in the building. We take your calls with your
Wow.
questions and comments. 011 883 702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 on 702. You know, when I saw that episode of Come Dine With Me, right at the beginning I said, Gert is winning. I've never tasted his food, but he looks like he's a perfectionist and he loves hosting.
Relebogile, I love hosting and I love cooking. So that was completely up my alley. It was actually no competition at all.
Oh my God. I said, I shame. Everybody in this episode is in trouble because they're going to lose. How are you doing, my Livy?
I am so good. I'm so excited. I'm so blessed. I'm so happy. It's Friday.
It's Friday. It's a good day. I have to share something with all of the listeners, though. I've known Gert. I can't even remember how long we've known each other
Years
for.
and
It's been
years.
years and years. But one thing that I need to share before I even forget. So the one time, I have a foundation called the Relebogile Mabotja Foundation. And I decided that I want to help some matriculants at my old high school that did not have the money. And matric dances at that time was not like the level it is now, which is
Oh,
like
today.
weddings, right? It's
Yeah.
a wedding now. But I reached out to some designers that I know, and Gert just said, say no more. And he dressed one of our young girls, and they got an opportunity to meet with you, design their own dresses. And literally the week before the matric dance, COVID and lockdown, and they cancelled the matric dance of the class of 2020. But I just had to share with everybody that it is a big deal that a small business can do that support, because not only is it the time and the labor, it's also like the fabric and the details. And sometimes
Exactly.
people look at a brand. I mean, we were having that conversation with David where you're like, people look at you and think you're so successful, but you still are a business that goes through the normal business challenges.
Need to employ people, need to pay people. So yeah, all of that always happens in the background, behind the scenes.
So thank you. I must actually reach out to her and find out if she ever wore that dress.
I wonder.
Because
I
we
hope
just
so.
told everybody to keep their dresses, but she was so happy. Like she was like, "Do you mean the like Gert-Johan Coetzee?" I said, "Yes, it's Gert." Like no, but like the real one. I said, "Listen, girl, it's like they couldn't believe that we got all these designers." So thank you, bless your heart, and thank you just so much for responding and in your busy schedule for doing that for me. When I actually, the time I met you at the beginning is when you had the business with, or you were working with and for Uyandambuli at Diamond Face Couture,
yes,
right?
yes.
I will never forget that era because your dresses were so distinct. I remember you were dressing Bonang a lot then, and you were in your, I don't want to say tutu, but it was kind of a tutu.
Oh, the tutu era.
The tutu
That was
corset.
what I was known for.
Yes. I was like, but back then, when you were still finding your creative voice, what did you think the impact of the work you were doing was?
You know what? I think I always hoped that this would be my life one day. I just didn't think it would be this fabulous.
Yes.
So I always kind of like hoped, that's why I did it. That's why I worked so hard, is to build this brand. And it was a big failure that I had to overcome, but I came out shining at the other side. So it's really about just being, like, I'm a big believer in being self-motivating. And when I was preparing for this interview, I'm trying to think back, what has my big failures been in my life? And I'm so blessed that there has been so many, but it's not something that I hammer on and something that I sulk about and something that I ever reflect on too much.
Why do you think of it as a failure? Because my view, I distinctly remember when that transition was happening. I can't recall if it was that the business is shutting down or that you're parting ways. But I just specifically remember saying to myself, oh, wow, to me, it's like you were graduating to do your own thing. So I never saw it as that, but maybe give us the lowdown. What was actually happening?
It's a big lesson, and I grew so much through it. I think Uyanda is such a strong businesswoman, but I think it was just a point where I had to grow on my own. Of course, there was more drama than that, but the appropriate answer is I needed to grow on my own.
You needed to grow on your own.
Follow my own journey.
Yeah. What is the difference, especially for young people who look up to you, between being a designer working under a brand? There are many designers who work, who's that famous Olivier? Works under Balmain, so there are advantages. And at that time, Diamond Face Couture was like the brand. So what are the differences between working under a brand where it's not necessarily your face and name, people know it's your hands, but it's not your face and name, versus having to build your own brand, meaning that if things go bad, it's Gert.
Yeah, so that time we were both partners.
Yes.
So we had a partnership, but I think it's easier if you can just design for somebody else. I design for many other designers. Yes.
What? How did I not know you designed for other designers?
Last year I did a whole thing with Steve Madden. So, and here and there, there's a brand that pulls me in for a season, and I design just quiet in the background and send the designs, and that is kind of like an employment thing. And that is so lovely because then you
not a partnership. Or
no. It's just a purely employment thing. And that is so fabulous because then you get to put on that designer's hat. Because I know exactly who I am as a designer and what my aesthetic is. But it's just so much fun tapping, for instance, into the Steve Madden aesthetic and what he's about and what he stands for. And it's a completely different look and feel. Of course, I bring my hat flavor because that's why they hired me. But it is so nice to be using their patterns and their archive and things that they are known for. It's fun. It's fun. And I love doing that. And it's great money because you just do it here and there.
Yes.
And you then come back home to your own brand and you do what you really love and you do what your point of view is.
Guys, even Gert has a side hustle. Like in Cyril's economy.
We all have to have a side hustle.
I'm so shocked because I've known about some of the collaborations you've done, but I did not know that you would actually go. But to me, the reason it makes sense, and maybe if, let's say, I were your business manager, I would be like, you should go and consult. But that's you're actually...
It is basically like consulting. Because sometimes I have an idea and it's not really for Gert or for Gert-Johan Coetzee, because Gert and Gert-Johan Coetzee are also two different brands. Gert has got a specific aesthetic and then Gert-Johan Coetzee has got a different aesthetic. So it is already like I'm designing for two. So when that opportunity comes, it's just basically putting the other hat on. And then maybe the idea doesn't work for these two brands, but it will be perfect for whatever pseudo brand I design it for, and then I just use that idea for that brand. So it's a lot of fun.
So what then is the difference between Gert, the person's style and aesthetic, and Gert-Johan Coetzee, the brand style and aesthetic? Because, and I think it's important to mention, like, majority of your clientele are Black women.
But you'll be surprised. Like every time I go there and there's like a Michelle Pretorius in my office, I'm like, what?
I'm laughing my head off because you're like, oh, there's a Michelle Pretorius. So what then is the difference? Because it is, I don't want to say unheard of, and I'll tell you why I say this, because when I was growing up and we had to go to a wedding, like the man who was making our outfits was an Afrikaans openly gay man who, we would go and his cats would be there and he would be making our outfits. And like,
do you remember that?
I literally, even like my matric dance dress, he made it, and I came to him with crazy ideas like, I want a school buckle here. He just got it. To me, like, he just understood the madness of the ideas that I have. But for you, just that you've built a brand in a predominantly Black market, and maybe that's part of the partnership that you had with Uyanda, and also working with big personalities like Bonang, and now, Lerato Kganyago and all of those things. But what would you say then is the difference?
I started with Sandy and Gemma. That's that's where I started. So I won a competition.
Ek het nie geweet
Yes,
nie.
I won a competition,
Gert.
and Sandy was the host that night, and she was telling me, you know what, Gert, I'm on this show. It's called Strictly Come Dancing, and I'm looking for a designer. Can I pitch you to the people of
Yes.
Rapid Blue, and then they'll say yeah or no, and they accepted me. And I learned so much, and that is actually where I met all these people and started understanding, because back then, the Afrikaans heritage that I come from I was used to it, and it was a specific type of industry. But when I walked into the African side of things, it reminded me more of Hollywood. And I loved that, because I've always wanted to see my clothes on the red carpets of Hollywood. So that is
Yes.
really why I think my aesthetic gravitated more towards this Nollywood type of a thing. But also that is just the people that accepted me first, that embraced me first.
Because I was going to say, when you came out, it was still a You magazine, a Movitoni in Patricia era. But I understand what you're saying with the aesthetics, because I mean, I'm from Pretoria, and I was, singing at NG Kerks and staying with Afrikaans people when we'd be doing die kerk, everything. But I understand exactly what you're saying with the difference with the aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yeah.
Yes.
So it was the aesthetic that gravitated to me, and that it was easy. And I always say, when something feels easy, there's compost in you. When something sparks joy or it feels
Yes.
easy, that is your little compost in your heart that kind of like tells you, yes, that direction is good. More of that. If something feels bad, that is your gut telling you that, go away.
It's not for you.
Don't do that anymore.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing how you think you know somebody. You think you know a person. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we continue with the upside of failure.
702.
The upside of failure.
Proof that a setback can lead to a step forward.
1 minute after 2 o'clock, the upside of failure. And we continue in this conversation with Gert-Johan Coetzee, renowned South African fashion designer. 011-883-0702 in the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Now, before we took a break and went to the ads, I was asking you, Gert, what is the difference between Gert-Johan Coetzee, the man's aesthetic, and Gert-Johan Coetzee, the brand's style?
Okay. So,
and, that...
Yeah. So at Gert-Johan Coetzee, that's like our parent brand. That's like the mother.
Yes.
That's like a very elegant woman. She likes quiet fashion, not loud logos.
Yes.
She's very conservative. She always wants to be very respectful and very high fashion, very glamorous. And then the Gert girl, she's fun, she's young, she likes logos, she likes loud colors, she's a little bit more punk rock.
She wants
a bit more
belts.
edgy, she wants belts.
Yes.
She wants those types of things. So that is the difference between the two aesthetics that I design for. But my personal aesthetic is, I just wear black and white. That's the easiest thing, because then I always have a uniform. It's almost like my
You
uniform.
and David Kyle are lazy. Both of you said the same thing, because he does the all black.
Black thing.
He says, darling, it makes life easier. And then you're saying the same. He said it's like a uniform. You're saying.
And here I am today wearing blue, but that is the exception to the rule for me.
Are you wearing blue for me, darling?
Yes, I'm wearing this because it's new. It's my latest collection. It dropped yesterday. So when it's new, you want to show it off. So that's why I thought, let me show it off. Let me show you one.
It looks like that fabric that constricts.
Oh, it's like a spike. I call it the spiky knit.
I see. I was saying something off air that maybe I can't say on air about where you get some of your accessories, because they look like 50 Shades of Grey kind of accessories. Are you
You'll never know.
Are you into those things, like the leather chokers and because I feel like that's your vibe. And
depends for which brand. For like Gert, because the Gert brand has got a bit of a punk rock aesthetic.
Yes.
So then I like a bit of like that grunge. But for GJC, for Gert-Johan Coetzee, that is more like a ruffle, because that brand is more like African Baroque. So it's a bit more of a ruffle. It's a corset. It's a full volume skirt. But never say never. You never know.
Which has been the most challenging brief you've ever received? And by challenging, I don't necessarily mean like you had 50,000 sequins to sew, but challenging that you as a creative felt like, oh my gosh, like, am I even good at what I do? Because sometimes you get those briefs where you're like, is this, what?
I think I'm most of the time my most difficult customers, because for my London Fashion Week collection, I had this idea. These beautiful beads the crafters make? It's like a little necklace, like a little belt, like a little thing. So my idea was I wanted to do a dress with just those beads, no fabric. So I worked with these ladies in Mpumalanga It took 8 ladies 3 months to make this
What?
complete gown out of just Zulu beads. There was not a drop of fabric in that dress. And that was a challenge to make sure that thing doesn't pull apart, that we get the body shape right. Because also, I wanted to make it fitted. It can't just be like a potato sack. So it had to like contour the body. It had to be like so specific. And I think we nailed it. That was a bit of a challenge. So I think I'm my worst customer.
But what I like about what you're sharing is because we are in the industry, we understand that some garments are good for photographs. Some garments are good for events because some garments you can't sit in.
Yeah.
I have a closet that is photo shoot heels.
Yeah.
You can't walk in them, you will die.
You take a picture and you
Yes,
go home.
you take a picture and you go home. Because my mom will be like, why do I never see you wearing these heels? I'll be like, you don't understand. These are the photo shoot ones. So when you do the different and maybe school us a little bit, that when you are knowing that you're making a piece of art for photographs where you don't have to worry about whether she can walk or not. What are the things that, a lot of structure, a lot of architecture, and then versus the ones where this person has to sit and possibly eat and, what are some of those tips?
I always tell brides and customers, if they come in for a gown, if you want like a hat gown, you want that look, I'm like, this is not a tracksuit. And firstly, and secondly, I don't make a dress for people that want to sit. You want to kind of stand and walk around, so deal with it. If you want to look beautiful, I'll make you look beautiful, but we have to work together here. This is not going to be a hat, I want to look beautiful and be comfortable. That doesn't exist. So,
oh my gosh.
So
we just need to accept that for some things, and these are like your brides.
And if you want to be comfortable, make it an NB note. Hat, I want to be comfortable because then that's a different design. I'll make you be comfortable as well. But if you want the hat look, it's uncomfortable. But like for Fashion Week, for instance, I think a question that I get a lot is, who wears these things that you show on the runway at Fashion Week? And the answer to that is it's not really made to be worn. That is art. That's my expression of where the season is going.
It's your gallery, your exhibition.
Yes. So that's the art that I create. So then I'll have 2 collections. So there will be the one for the runway, and that will be something a little bit more over the top and really but more conceptual, where I'm going for the season. And then there's the stuff that I sell that's on my online store, which is really completely wearable, that you can wear to the mall, you can wear to an event. So, but it will be inspired by the runway collection.
Yes. Where do you take some of your greatest inspiration? Because now you are on your how manyth year?
15th, yes.
15th
so it
year,
depends. Different seasons have different inspirations. I'm very lucky because my mind is kind of always open to creativity. So a whole collection will drop into my mind in a flash. And it just happens in one day, and then I know what I want to do. But basically, I think I'm always inspired by the cultures in South Africa and also where I grew up on the farm. I think growing up in Koster, being so kind of like isolated.
Van Koster. Van Koster.
From Koster, yes.
Yes.
So that was very isolating. And whenever I design a collection, I feel my best collections is when I kind of like reflect back at like a period or like a time or a little spot on the farm or something that grew there or something I saw there. And then I can just come up with so many collections. And the big thing about creativity, because that is what I love to teach young designers or young creatives in general, is to really always expose yourself to different things. Always be a little bit adventurous, because if you do the same thing every day, you're going to get the same results. So I'm not saying going bungee jumping, but go to an art gallery. Go visit some place that you never thought you're really interested in going, because you don't know what you'll learn.
Do you ever look back at some of your work, even if you know, well, this is what the client wanted, and you cringe a little bit at something you've done? Because it's tricky. I mean, as much as we are creatives in this industry, sometimes you are working to a client's brief and they don't always take your recommendations. They don't always take your opinions because they're very set. So you might be like, listen, yellow in this silhouette is just not going to work. And they insist. But have you ever looked at your things and thought,
Not anymore. I think by now, by the time you've jumped through all the hoops and all the gatekeepers and you're sitting in front of me designing for me, you kind of know what you want. You kind of like know my aesthetic, and you are there not just for a dress, you are there for a hat dress. And that kind of already kind of like people want to follow what I suggest, but I'm always open to collaborate, because you have to collaborate to have the perfect thing. But if something really doesn't suit somebody, I'll be like, okay, what's your other options? And then I'll choose the best out of the worst.
Guys, so you must know, if you go to Gert and he says, What are your other options? Do you ever have clients who are like delulu in the sense that they show you something they want, but maybe their body type is not right for it? And it's not always necessarily like, oh, this is more for a straight up and down, but like sometimes somebody will want something that needs curves. It needs a lerato kganyago curve, or, you know, do you ever have clients that are
That is
delulu?
where that magic comes in. We
Yes.
will give you that body with all my little tricks up my sleeve. If you want to be a lerato kganyago body, I'll give it to you. Easy peasy. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. But my little secret is, and I shouldn't actually be
do
saying
you build
this.
hips into the
Maybe,
garment?
maybe not. Maybe we remove a rib. I don't know. My little evil trick is, if it's something that I really don't want to do, and I just see this is not going to work, I'll ask you, when is your event? You'll tell me September. I'll be like, yeah, I think we still have a few spaces open for September 2027. Let me just think. and then that's my way of saying no.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I've come too far. I haven't come this far just to come this far. I'm not going to do something ugly that I don't like. But
Yes.
normally it never happens.
Or that you can't stand by. Like you want to be able to stand
If
by.
this picture comes out, I need to be like, yeah, that's me.
Okay. All right. We need to go to the news, but don't worry. The conversation's going to continue with Gert-Johan Coetzee. Get your questions in 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Guys, please don't send your designs. Yo, so many designs are coming. Gert can't even see the WhatsApp line. But yo, it's 2:30.
Spend your afternoon
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.